Hey guys, welcome to another Noda Map. Now this is a training room for Dungeon Masters, specifically for Dungeons and Dragons. But if you're interested in any tabletop role-playing game, this will demonstrate how powerful a mind mapping app like Noda is for doing this. Noda is a free app that you can install on your headset, virtual reality device. And I'm using this, I'm subscribed to it, which is £4 a month. You get extra rooms, you get extra content and features, but it is a free app. And this will really blow your mind if you're someone that's interested in learning how to play Dungeons and Dragons, because this shows you how everything works, and it's a really nice visual way of learning with lots of images and showing you the connection between different concepts, rather than sort of trawling through the manual and having to find information, which is usually quite dry. This brings everything to life, and my plan is to have it all in one convenient place where you can just scoot around this room and look at different aspects of the rules for the game and learn things a lot faster. And I've certainly found for me so far that it's sped up my learning hugely. This beginning area here is really the kind of fundamental rules for Dungeons and Dragons. It would work for just a player to understand the different dice rolls and the different scores that needed to be added together when you make those dice rolls for different aspects of the game. So this is just an amazing starting place here. And this will just show you, for example, here, if you were to make an attack, okay, like a weapon attack here, then you need to add your ability modifier for that, for your strength or your dexterity. That's the ability modifier. And that link there is just showing you that that's something that needs to be added to your weapon attack. And then also your weapon proficiency up here. So the weapon you're proficient in, that score, whatever it is added to the weapon attack, and that defines, along with the dice roll, whether you actually hit your target. And I've used these images as much as possible as well, because I don't know, I just find them fun to make using ChatGPT. They look pretty cool. And you know, if I'm lying on my bed at night and just trying to kind of remember some of the rules, I can just remember the image and then it's connected to that particular rule. And that really helps me. I was finding that when I just was reading through the book, I was having to read through it again and again. And it's just so much more visual. And then it shows you here what to roll for damage. You roll your hit dice. Actually, I should have put that in there, hit dice. And then you add your strength or dexterity modifier. Again, that's just showing you that your ability modifier is added to that. And if anything looks wrong here, do tell me, guys, because I'm still learning myself. I've never even really played the game, but I'm just fascinated by it, and I really want to start getting into being a dungeon master. And then, you know, I won't go into like every single element here, because this video isn't to teach you how to play. It's just to show you how this room can be used. And I'll post a link to the room. We can get people in here learning, having a look around, adding stuff, collaborating. I'm really excited about it. But just to give you a couple more pointers here. So if you were making a skill check, which in Dungeons and Dragons is, you know, anything a roll that you're making to see if you succeed at some particular skill. Say if you are leaping across a chasm or whatever, this is showing you what you add. So again, you add your overall ability modifier for the skill, and then any skill proficiency bonus you add over here if you have one. If you have a skill proficiency in athletics, then you would add that. Okay, and that's just showing you the two different elements that needed to be added there. And I've added in some sort of text here as well to just kind of give a few little pointers here about what these different things actually are. Saving throws, that's showing you that's your ability modifier, and then ability proficiency score if you have one. Raw ability checks, tool proficiency bonus. So these are all different elements of the game. Tool use, weapon attack, contested rolls that you might need to make. passive checks, you know, for your passive perception or whatever. If you want to kind of spot someone that's hiding, that's just showing you the kind of rule there that you need, the mathematics, that things that needed to be added together there. Your spell attack. Spells are a little bit more complicated, so I've had to put a fair bit of kind of text there just to explain how that's all done. And this is awesome. Once you get your head around this and you can see how everything's related here, it's all just in one place. If you were to go through the manual to learn this, you'd be pretty much jumping around a bit. I mean, a lot of it is chunked in one area, but you would have to skip through a few pages, you know, go through some stuff that isn't quite so relevant. But here, this is everything that you need, the core rules to play the game, all right? So let's go over here. So here we have vision and light, okay? For the mechanic of vision and light. So this is just showing you, for example, in bright light, is caused by lanterns, normal days, torches and fires. Okay, these are all of the situations where you would be in bright light. Lightly obscured here is showing you get a disadvantage on perception, and that might be caused by moderate foliage, patchy fog, and also it would mean that you're in dim light. You're always lightly obscured in dim light, and I've given it a different color. I mean, this is the great thing about Noda. You can get creative with colors, and it just gives your memory that slight extra kind of cue that you can use to remember the images when you're recalling them. And for me, that's the whole point. I can think about this map wherever. I don't have to have my manual with me or anything like that, or D&D Beyond, or whatever it is you use. I can just close my eyes and be in this room and be remembering this stuff, right? So in dim light is dawn, twilight, full moon occasionally. Heavily obscured here, I've obviously used the black colour for that. And that is, you know, it could be darkness, dense foliage, heavy fog. And then this is, I love these. These are brilliant. I've used ChatGPT to create these, and they're kind of like these cards. And what I'll do is I'll describe the image I want, and they all refer to different abilities in Dungeons and Dragons. And they're very cool indeed. And there's a bit of a description here. They take a while, I won't lie to you. They're quite painstaking to create because ChatGPT will mess up the text a lot. I've had to go into the rule book and condense the text a lot of the time to actually fit it in and make it more simple. But it's pretty much, you can understand it. But they do take a while to create, guys. I won't lie to you. But, you know, I'm hoping to do all that heavy lifting here. And I love it. It's a lot of fun. So this just tells you dark vision. See in dim light within a specific range as if it were bright light, and in darkness within that range as if it were dim light. Colours in that darkness appear only as shades of grey. Okay? Blind sight. See within a specific range without relying on physical sight. See anything not behind total cover, even when blinded or in darkness. See anything with invisible condition. Tremor sense. This is the image of someone just putting their hand on a surface to be able to use tremor sense to pinpoint location of creatures and moving objects within a certain range. These things are awesome. And this is the real beauty of being able to use ChatGPT here. You just go to browser, open it up. I've got it already saved in my bookmarks, ChatGPT. And then all I need to do is I can just drag the image I've created straight from here into the room here, like so. There it is. It's a little bit involved. You have to scale the images down afterwards because ChatGPT will create them high res. So I get ChatGPT to scale them down to about 75% quality, a JPEG, and everything like that. So I can put some more information about that in the description as well, and I might make a separate video perhaps on that. But that's really how you do it. And then you create the image, drag it in. So what else have we got? So outdoors, in terms of vision, on a hill or a mountain, you can see 40 miles on a clear day, 2 miles. Lightly obscured in rain, 1 mile. Fog, 100 to 300 feet. At sea, if you're in a crow's nest, on a bright, calm day, you can see 10 miles. Overcast skies, 5 miles. Underwater. And the cool thing is you can change the colour of the lines as well, just to give a little bit more colour and interest to the room. In clear water, 60 feet. Nice light clear water colour I've got here. In bright light, that is. Clear water in dim light, a little bit darker, 30 feet. Or murky water or darkness, you can only see 10 feet. All right? So that's nice. There's probably a bit more to vision and light, but that's the kind of main bulk of it there. Stealth and hiding I've got over there. I haven't done much on that yet, but that just gives you a little bit of information about audible distances. And I think that's the distance as to when you'll be kind of noticed by an enemy. If you're trying to be quiet, then you roll a 2d6 times 5 feet to see if you're spotted or not. Over here, this is kind of going to be my crafting section. This isn't finished, by the way. I'm still working on all of this. And I may have to divvy it up into more than one room, because I am kind of running into slight memory issues rather, on my MetaQuest 3. Probably the hardware, but it does get a little bit laggy. So I may have to have a couple of separate rooms going on. But yeah, check this. These are all the different tools. Woodcrafter's tools, that's just showing me there what I can craft of those. How they're utilised. And once you've got these cards, you've just got them for life. You could have them during a game on a screen. You could just put them up there if someone's interested in using a tool. You can just have it up there on the screen. I'll put a link to all these cards, guys, that you can download, on my Google Drive, so you can get hold of these, use them in your games. So those are quite nifty. General tools, navigator's tools, thieves' tools, etc. It's funny, for the poisonous kit, it wouldn't actually let me use the word poison. So I had to call it a deadly concoction kit instead, because it wouldn't have any of that. All right, so what else? Over here, this area is quite busy and fleshed out. So this is exploration, right? So this is everything to do with kind of being out, exploring. There's stuff in here related to weather and movement. And let's just kind of work through this. So as I mentioned, well, I don't know if I mentioned, but you can use the nodes within Noda to be creative. See, I've used the circle node here just to kind of create a cloud, which is pretty cool, right? Just to represent weather. And that's showing you this is the weather section, right? And it's just taking you through here, like things like temperature. These are roles you can make as a dungeon master to determine the temperature when they're out exploring. So for example, if you roll between a 1 and a 14, then the temperature is normal for that season. And also that you can use that to determine wind. You make 3 different rolls, one for temperature, one for wind, one for precipitation. If you roll between a 15 and 17, then the temperature is 10 degrees Fahrenheit colder. For wind, if you roll 13 and 17, then you get a light wind, see? And again, I've used colours, heavy rain or heavy snowfall, nice and white. Some light rain here, just sort of showing you that it's obscured. All right, so this is showing you different ways encounters can happen when you're out exploring. You could be attacked from above. You could be sighted from a distance. You could be ambushed, found by chance. Some details here about foraging, how foraging works, okay? So the DC for foraging, the difficulty level that is set by where you are. In different areas, it's easier to forage than others. So if you want to know the difficulty level for foraging for a certain area, then you can come over here, for this table I've set up here. This was, to begin with, this was for travel pace, but I've included the locations within each of these areas here. So you've got moving fast, moving normal speed, moving slow, and you can move at different speeds through different environments. This is showing you how fast you can move through grassland, how fast, if you're moving at fast speed rather, this is showing you how quickly you move through grassland and through Arctic locations. But what I've done here is I've put information in about foraging, navigation and searching. So the F means, the F there, F15, that's for foraging. And I've got a rule here that shows you what it means. F equals forage DC, N equals navigation DC, S equals search DC. So if you want to know, if you're in grassland and you want to know how easy it is to forage, if you want to know the difficulty level for foraging, you can come over here to grassland and you can see that foraging has an F15 DC difficulty. So that's what you need to beat with your roll in order to have, you know, to forage successfully. All right, so DC is set by region. And then it's showing you here success would be you roll a 1d6 and add your wisdom modifier, and then you can determine how much food you find in pounds. This is showing you searching for the last stage of the journey when you're actually searching for the quest objective. And that comes at the last stage of the journey. And again, that information is over here and it is dependent on the particular location you're in. And it's the S factor here. So say if I was in a desert and at the last stage of the journey, I'm looking for a cave in the desert, the DC for that is S10. The S stands for searching. So I have to beat that 10 in order to find the cave, all right? Navigation. This is making sure you don't get lost. I'm giving you some information here for the different environmental factors that might cause you to get lost. So if you have no established path or landmark, you have to beware of these different factors. Okay, if you move off the beaten trail, you've got to watch out for obscuring weather, branching passages underground, travelling at sea whilst unable to see the sky or any familiar land. Okay, so these can all cause you to become lost. And when you're in danger of becoming lost, you have to choose a player to make a wisdom survival check using the navigation DC. Where do we find that? Guess where? Say we're traveling in an urban environment, right? Navigation for an urban environment is actually quite difficult. It's N20. So probably because in an urban environment, there's a lot of people around, so it's pretty easy to get lost, or a lot of winding streets or whatever. So that's showing you the DC for an urban environment for navigation. It's easier to get lost basically in a urban environment. So on a fail, that's showing you what happens. So getting lost could look like you end up following the wrong branch of river. So this narratively tells you as a dungeon master the kind of things that you can say to describe that player being lost or players being lost. So if they get turned around in a forest, they orient themselves to the wrong mountain peak. So that's navigation. Obstacles. So basically these are just things that they fail to overcome or bypass. So combat encounters, this is what they could cause. It causes a combat encounter, damage, exhaustion, or another effect. And these are some examples of different things that could be obstacles. They come across a cliff. So what do? They could backtrack, and I've represented that with a little time hourglass there because it's time-based. And also because it will add time to their journey. So they could try and climb down, but they could fall, right? So I've put that as a little red kind of danger node here because that's something that could cause them to take damage. So this is just showing you the different kind of scenarios that could occur and the different choices they could make when they come across an obstacle. So there could be a blizzard. They could take shelter to wait the blizzard out. That would add time. Or they could try and blitz on through it, right? Which would cause some exhaustion maybe, or some cold damage. So that's cool. You can play with those. And this is for tracking. So, you're a ranger and you're tracking someone, you make a wisdom survival check, and that's again based on the search stat for the terrain. That's the S search stat. That's the same stat that that shouldn't be two S's there, that's wrong. Same stat you use to find your quest objective, you use that also for tracking, all right? You have to make a new trek when you're tracking, say if there's shifting weather that may cover up tracks. You're basically following tracks. After you've rested, you have to make a survival check to find the tracks again. Or if there's a terrain obstacle like a river, and I've just used that little blue line between these two things here to indicate a river. You can set your own DC as well, based on different situations or things that may happen, say like how busy the area is, if there's a trail that the creature leaves, like maybe blood, how much time has lapsed. This just sort of gives you a visual idea of how you can handle tracking in the game, all right? Now, these down here are hazards. So these are the main hazards that you can encounter in Dungeons and Dragons when you're exploring. So burning, I won't read that out to you. Suffocation, dehydration, falling, malnutrition. These are different mechanics that affect you during exploration. And if you've got these little cards here, you can just quickly zip in there, have a quick look. I mean, you could have this headset on as a dungeon master. You may have to just pop it on, have a little look around. You could actually have your headset on with this map on. If you need a quick rule, pop the headset on, have a quick look. Maybe it's quicker than actually going through the book, who knows? Or sit there with a headset on and be a dungeon master. Imagine that. Or imagine having an actual game in one of these rooms. Lots of possibilities there. So just back to this again. Again, this is just showing you travel pace. So it's showing you up here at the top. So every minute, this top line represents how much time is passing. So every minute, if you travel at a fast pace, you travel 400 feet. Every hour, 4 miles. Every day, 30 miles, right? It's also showing you here that if you travel at a fast pace, you get a disadvantage on wisdom, okay, perception plus survival, and dexterity stealth checks, all right? Normal pace, again, here, you get a disadvantage on dexterity stealth checks. And these are all the environments where you can travel at a normal pace. So at a slow pace, you would get advantage on perception and survival checks because you can spot things a bit easier because you're traveling slowly. And these are the areas here where you would be forced to travel at a slow place. So it isn't actually, as I mentioned earlier, I got that slightly wrong. It's not showing you how fast you can go at that pace in these environments. It's showing you the limitation of these environments. So you can only travel at a slow speed through a swamp. Do you know what I mean? You can't sprint through a swamp. You can't sprint up a mountain. You're going slow if you're in a mountain, all right? And I believe it's also showing you the likelihood here of having an encounter, so you can make a roll for that. There you go. It's just showing you here some rules for special movement as well. If you were to have a magic carpet or whatever, it shows you the rule for how you get to that, which I won't go through here, but this just takes you through the calculations you need to make to calculate how far you can travel if you have like a magic carpet or whatever. So that's that. Over here, we have carrying capacities. So this is pretty cool. And it's just showing you here the different capacities, weights that you can carry with different animals. Okay, quite self-explanatory. It also shows you how much each of those animals cost to buy. And, which is cool, it's showing you the pull weight. So how all of the mathematics are done behind the scenes here, and it's just showing you how much one horse draft can actually pull, okay, in a cart or whatever. So you can come in here and make some quick calculations. And these are for vehicles. This shows you the vehicle weight for the carriage, how much a carriage weighs, how much a cart weighs, how much a chariot weighs, how much each of them costs, and then the rough safe load capacity for each of these. So you have to make sure that you're kind of within this capacity for the carriage as well, or it could possibly kind of collapse. So that's showing you that. This gives you some indication about player weights as well, just so you can factor that into the numbers that you're adding into. Just, if you've got, like, say 4 orc players, they're going to weigh quite a lot, and so it shows you the weights for the different players here. And this just gives you an example of a sum that you could make using all of this information, right? So you're trying to work out whether you're overloaded or not, or whether the vehicle that you've chosen is going to basically collapse, or whether you have the right amount of animals to pull a load. So your vehicle weight is 400 pounds. The weight of your players is 540. The weight of your cargo is 800 pounds. So this adds up to a total. You've added up your total there of 1,740 pounds that you have to, that horse basically has to pull, right? So your horse's max pull weight is 2,400. So I can't remember how I calculated that, but I think I just, I went up to horse here and I saw that a riding horse has a max pull weight of 2,400. So that is more than our calculated 1,740. So your horse is fine. Your horse can pull that weight. Then you have to calculate the rough load capacity for the wagon to make sure you haven't overloaded the wagon, right? So our wagon that we chose has between an 800 and a 1,200 pound safe carry load weight, right? As you can see, that's less. We've gone way over that. Okay, so we're going to crash and burn. You could get the players to make a roll on that just to see if that happens, but that, that is what must we have chosen there for that? Yeah, so we've basically chosen a wagon for that. These have gone a bit off kilter here, so we used the wagon to calculate that. So that's pretty awesome, right? You can come in, look at this information, grab these different figures, do a quick sum here, and just figure out what you need with that. Combat. Right, so these are pretty cool. So start off here, we've got weapon expertise. This is showing you the different kind of types of weapon expertise you can have and the effects you have. And again, I've used these cards here, and these are pretty cool. It's just showing you what Nick does. If you've got the weapon expertise, you can have a look at these cards to see what they do. So that's what Topple would do, okay? If you have an expertise in that weapon, then you can unlock these effects with that weapon. And I get, obviously, the image, try and get the images to closely resemble the effect as much as possible. So cleave, this would be obviously attacking 2 enemies at once. Couldn't quite get this one right. This was slowing an enemy. I was trying to use a whip attack to show that you could slow an enemy with a whip attack, but physics here just look a bit weird with the way she's whipping him on the top of the head there. But there you go. I like that one. Sap. That's quite funny. I've got quite a lot of goblins getting the shit kicked out of them in my images. Poor goblins. Vex. This is sort of trying to show you a blow dart attack, because blow darts, blow guns give you Vex if you have expertise. I couldn't get it to go in his neck. I was thinking of the blow dart going in the neck was the done thing, really, wasn't it? But this poor guy's getting one in the flibbing. This guy's getting one in the earlobe. Imagine that. Blowgun dart to the earlobe, and his face really is quite accurate for how it would be if you did have a dart to the ear. Graze, getting the old chin grazed there with a knife. Push, being pushed off a cliff there with a spear attack. Okay, so I've tried to use the weapons as well that are related to that expertise. That's supposed to be, oh god, what's the weapon? Like a hook, type. Can't even remember what it's called now, but it's ended up coming out like a hockey stick or something. These are weapon types, so these are quite helpful, you know. Shows you some rules here for weapon types, like loading weapons. It's got the rule there for that. Light weapons, this is showing you that light weapons you can dual wield with. Information on ammunition, improvised weapons, two-handed weapons, finesse, ranged, heavy, thrown, versatile. This is a funny one, unarmed strike. I think my prompt for ChatGPT was grab someone and headbutt them, but instead he's just grabbed him round the neck. It looks like he's about to like throttle him, I don't know, or kiss him, who knows. Right, conditions. Obviously, you know, players can have different conditions during combat and probably outside combat as well, you know, when they're being hit by traps and things like that. So they could be blinded, stunned, petrified, charmed. You get the idea, guys. Most of you, if you know about D&D, will already have heard of some of these. Grappled, invisible, unconscious, frightened. I mean, these are wicked. And I can remember these now. Before, I was trying to learn these different effects just by memory without images, and it was really, really difficult. But now I can close my eyes and picture this particular layout and just really remember. Obviously you still have to remember the rules for each of them, but just to remember what the effects are and which ones exist, you know, and to be able to connect an image to them is really helpful. So actions you can take in combat. I've got the help action there being taken in combat. Oh yeah, this is basically telling you that as a dungeon master, you have to describe what the enemy is doing so the players know what's happening. So if there's a spell happening, you have to describe that spell components are being used. There's a, you know, the orc starts to chant or whatever, just so the players know that it's a spell being cast and they can react to it. If it's a reaction the enemy is taking, they've got to have a general idea about what they need to avoid. So, you know, reactions aren't just being taken by the enemy in the dark. Some information about initiative here and how initiative works. How battle maps work when you're figuring out line of sight and stuff like that, which I've used this visual example here just to show how line of sight is calculated by drawing lines to each corner of a square. And, you know, if you can, say, touch a line to one corner of one of the squares where the enemy is, then that counts as, I think it's half cover or whatever. So I've got that there. Some information about how you do long range tracking, some of the calculations you can make if you've got two groups approaching each other from a distance, how that's actually calculated there. Movement in combat. It's handy. Shows the rules for flying, climbing, difficult terrain, swimming. So when you're flying, you fall if you have the incapacitated or prone condition, etc. If you're climbing, 1 foot becomes 2 feet, 3 feet if it's difficult terrain, unless you've got a climb speed. Blah, blah, blah. I'll zip through this a little bit faster. Yeah, it's just showing you here what would constitute difficult terrain. Crawling, swimming, and again using the color codes here. A bit of information about different cover types, the rules for half cover, 3/4 cover, total cover, with some nice cool little images there. Just showing you what it looks like when someone's in total cover, 3/4 cover. Cool, so that is combat. Over here we got chases. Just giving you the rules here for chases, you know, just the basics that you have to go through here, one a step at a time. Participants, including anyone not in combat, will need to roll initiative. Determine the starting distance between the quarry and the pursuers. Just tells you here you can take a dash action a number of times equal to 3 times your constitution modifier. And then each additional dash requires a constitution roll. This will only obviously make sense if you understand a bit about Dungeons and Dragons already. Probably going to be about sort of make your head spin if you've never played Dungeons and Dragons. But that's the whole point of this room. And what I'm hoping is that if you are someone that wants to learn, you can come into this room and I'll hang out with you and we'll have a chat and take you through some of it. So just some typical rules at the side here for chases, like you drop out of the race if speed becomes 0. The race is over when all quarries have escaped or been caught. So over here, if there are lots of things to hide behind, you can give them advantage. You're in a very crowded area. The people being chased might have advantage, and I've created a cool little dice, guys. Look how cool that is. I haven't really tapped into the power of Noda for creating these custom shapes here, but this just goes to show how creative you can be with these custom shapes. I mean, check that out, man. That is a pretty sick dice, right? That's that. Over here, I haven't fleshed this out yet, but the idea is that you've got all of your main abilities here, and then you've got the associated skills underneath each of them. And what I was going to do was come up with maybe different scenarios where you would be rolling like the stealth skill, just so you know as a dungeon master when you would be rolling stealth or when you would be rolling sleight of hand. So under sleight of hand, I would have a list here, you know, if you're trying to steal something from someone, whatever, because there's lots of different types of scenarios where you'd roll sleight of hand. Some of these are more kind of obvious than others, but you could have some stuff so you could differentiate when you might need an arcana check as opposed to a history check, as opposed to a nature check. Because some of them, there can be kind of some crossovers and it can get confusing. Things like investigation, perception, stuff like that. So that's quite cool. And I'll flesh that out a bit more. Over here, we've got alignments. I like this. This is cool. I dragged in this image online and then I've made a node that's connected to each of the different alignments here, as you can see. And I had another idea that you could have a whole room devoted to lore. You could have a whole room devoted to, you know, the cosmology of Dungeons and Dragons. So, you know, I want to kind of branch this out into a very encompassing thing, and have the different, you know, classes, races, things like that, information about spells, items. I mean, it's a huge undertaking. That's a lot of it. There's not much more. There's just over here creature attitude, just to show you the different attitudes creatures can have towards you. Hostile, friendly. If it's friendly, you get an advantage on ability checks. Hostile, disadvantage, or indifferent in the middle. Over here, just a couple of other skills that you may have. There's just outlining kind of telepathy there and what it does, how attunement works, how the identify mechanic works here for items. So handling tells you it's extraordinary. Design or etchings may give clues. Spell is the quickest way to identify. Doesn't reveal curses, etc. Over here we got curses. Now the only problem with downscaling the images is that if they're darker, they don't show up quite as nicely. As you can see, these aren't quite as clear because they're darker images. But they're still quite nice. So this is kind of a curses here. I liked that. And then you've got demonic possession, and I'll put a bit of information underneath about that. I don't always put the information on every one of these cards. If there's too much information, you can't really fit it on the card, and you'll need some nodes underneath there. Narrative curses, I like that. I was reading in the book about, you know, narratively you can give a curse because someone breaks a vow or whatever. So that was a god of hearing and cursing someone for breaking a vow there. How death works. This would be death from massive damage. If a player reaches 0 HP and there is damage left, they die if that damage exceeds their HP maximum. And that's just an image there to show someone getting totally obliterated. And that's how death saving throws work there. So what else? Gotta say so too much. Have a shot for every time I say so in this video. I think that's it. Yeah. Like I say, it's not finished, but I wanted to show you what's... Oh, hang on. XP and leveling up. I thought this was a nice colour for XP and leveling up. So this just shows you here, you know, what you do. You divide the total XP between players. XP awards for non-combat encounters. I don't know why that image is stuck on loading. Or adventure milestones. Accomplishing a series of goals. The type of rewards it could include, like you might gain benefit or a short rest. You might recover hit points or a level 1 slot. So this is how to determine XP based, you know, on the fly, and this gives you some information there. This is for during, I think, non-combat encounters. You ask questions like, was it trivial, moderate, or hard based on the situation and their level? Then you use your intuition plus kind of a difficulty rating for that particular challenge or conversation encounter. Did they make multiple rolls? Was it high stakes? Given how layered and risky the challenge was, I'd call it a high difficulty encounter for a level 3, etc. And then you go to the XP chart for level 3. So thanks a lot for joining me here, guys, and I hope that this has been interesting and helpful for you. And I would just love for you guys to be able to come and join me here. Get yourself a VR headset, MetaQuest 3 or whatever. They're not ridiculously expensive. And get yourself into VR because, I mean, it offers such an unparalleled new innovative way to learn. And these apps, you know, like Noda, this app is incredible. Like, I live in this app, and being able to have this visual aspect of things and create links between things to show their relationship, it just really helps the brain to retain information and to learn. And my learning is just increased so much since having this room. And it's just such a fun way to learn as well. And then obviously the ChatGPT integration, where you can pull information in and pull images in and take screenshots, ask ChatGPT questions and then take a screenshot of its answer, pull that into the room if you want to have like a screenshot of some information from ChatGPT. And it's incredible. I'll try and figure out how to get you guys involved in the room. I think if I put a link to my Meta profile in the description, that'll help. Let's get that figured out, and imagine just kind of growing this as a community, just kind of adding to this. This is kind of my vision, that we create something kind of huge where anyone can come in here and use this. I really want this to be for the community because I love the community, and I want this to just be a free tool that everyone can use. And get yourself on Noda as well. I mean, it's £4 a month for the paid subscription. You get a few extra rooms like this cool one that I'm in here, and you get some extra features, but there is a free version to get you started. And then you could just buy it outright. I think it's about £20, and you get a lot with that. And you get, I think you just don't get the cloud-based storage, or maybe there's a couple of extra rooms you don't get. But it's just incredible. And for me, you know, it's really, really the future. So yeah, get involved, guys, and yeah, thanks for being here, and love you all.